Hey there, fellow art lovers. Ready to explore a city through its art scene? I am because today we're diving deep into the heart of Dublin's art world.
Sounds fascinating.
Our guide for this deep dive is the Love Ireland newsletter. It's packed with tips on where to go, what to see, and even has some practical advice from experienced travelers.
Oh, that's helpful, especially for those of us who like to plan ahead.
Exactly. Like Bernadette Jordan, who swears by the Irish Tours Board for planning and reservations. She says they go beyond the typical booking services.
Wow, so they're like an art concierge. That's amazing.
Right. It makes me think of Dublin as this grand gallery filled with masterpieces.
Well, Dublin definitely has its share of grand galleries.
But what about Dublin's unique flavor? What sets its art scene apart?
Well, Dublin is this amazing blend of historical weight and modern energy. You know, the Love Ireland newsletter points out how the city caters to diverse tastes.
Oh, like what kinds of things?
You'll find everything from traditional Irish landscapes to those really cool, cutting-edge contemporary installations.
I love that mix of old and new.
And, they even mention how some modern sculptures incorporate elements of Celtic knotwork. It's like a visual thread connecting the past and present.
Celtic knotwork in modern art.
Uh,
That's so cool.
mhm.
I've always been fascinated by those intricate designs.
Me too. And speaking of connections, the newsletter recommends starting with the Irish Museum of Modern Art, or IMA for short.
Okay, Emma, what's special about it?
It's housed in a 17th century building. Imagine that juxtaposition. A historic building showcasing modern art.
Wow, that's a statement in itself. It makes me wonder, are there other places in Dublin where the building itself is part of the art experience?
Definitely. Like the Photo Museum Ireland, which is in a former meeting house. Imagine viewing powerful photographs in a space where important gatherings and discussions once took place.
It's like the building's history adds another layer of meaning to the art.
Yeah.
I'm already picturing myself there, soaking it all in.
And while you're at it, don't forget Bernadette's advice about the Irish Tourist Board. They can help you discover hidden gems like Atelier now.
Atelier. No,
Yeah.
I'm adding that to my list too. What is it?
It's a hub for emerging artists, a chance to see the future of the art world unfold.
Emerging artists. That's
Yep.
always exciting. It's like getting a sneak peek into the next big thing.
Exactly. And speaking of exciting, the Love Ireland newsletter also mentioned this place called Pedar's Bar. It's not a gallery or a museum, but it's definitely part of Dublin's artistic heart.
Pedar's Bar. What makes it so special?
Think live music sessions, a lively atmosphere, and conversations filled with creative energy. It's where Dublin's art spills out onto the streets and into the pubs.
So it's like the city itself becomes an open-air gallery. I love that.
Exactly. And this reminds me of something I wanted to touch upon. The newsletter focuses on visual arts, but Dublin's artistic legacy goes far beyond paintings and sculptures.
Oh, you've piqued my curiosity.
Oh.
What else should we be considering?
Well, we can't talk about Dublin without mentioning its literary heritage.
Oh, yes. Dublin and literary giants. They go hand in hand.
Think about writers like James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, Oscar Wilde. Their words painted vivid pictures and captured the essence of Dublin life.
But how does that literary heritage translate into the visual arts?
That's where it gets really fascinating. Imagine the themes of identity isolation and the search for meaning that permeates Beckett's plays, finding a visual echo in a contemporary sculpture or installation.
So you're saying that those literary giants have left their fingerprints on the city's artistic DNA.
Precisely. It's like a subtle dialogue happening between different art forms. And speaking of dialogue, I'd recommend looking into the works of Louis Le Brocq if you're interested in exploring that connection further.
Louis Le Brocq. I'll definitely check him out. What's his style?
He's known for his expressive portraits, often capturing the inner world of his subjects, much like a novelist delves into the depths of a character's psyche.
It's like a portrait becomes a visual novel. Fascinating.
And while we're on the topic of Irish artists, keep an eye out for Sean Scully as well.
Sean Scully, what's his story?
His abstract paintings with their bold colors and geometric forms are internationally acclaimed. They might not directly reference literary works, but they evoke a sense of depth and complexity that resonates with Dublin's intellectual and emotional landscape.
So even in abstract forms, we can find traces of that literary heritage.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It really is. And remember, art is a conversation. Don't just observe, engage with it. Ask yourself how the art makes you feel, what stories it whispers, and how it connects to the wider tapestry of Dublin's history and culture.
That's such a powerful reminder. And honestly, I think that's a perfect note to end this insightful deep dive on.
Indeed. Remember, Dublin awaits, ready to be explored, felt, and experienced through its incredible art scene.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and passion with us.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure diving deep into the Dublin art scene with you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you feel inspired to explore the world of art with a fresh perspective. And who knows, maybe we'll see you in Dublin someday.
Until next time, happy travels.
Yeah, it's like the city itself is an open-air gallery.
I love that idea. And it makes me think about something you mentioned earlier about Dublin's artistic legacy going beyond what's in the Love Ireland newsletter.
Exactly. We can't talk about Dublin without mentioning its literary heritage.
True, Dublin's literary scene is legendary.
Right. Think of writers like James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, Oscar
Obviously,
Wilde.
giants of literature.
Their words painted such vivid pictures and really captured the essence of Dublin life.
I see what you mean. But how does that literary heritage actually translate into the visual arts?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine like the themes of identity isolation and the search for meaning. Those things that permeate Beckett's plays, finding a visual echo in a contemporary sculpture.
Oh, wow, I get it. Like a
Yeah.
visual representation of those complex ideas.
Exactly. Or think about the vibrant stream of consciousness style of Joyce's writing.
Okay.
That could inspire a multimedia piece that challenges how we perceive time and space. So you're saying those literary giants have influenced generations of visual artists?
Precisely. It's like a dialogue happening between different art forms. And speaking of dialogue, if you're interested in exploring that connection further, I'd recommend checking out Louis Le Brocquy.
Louis Le Brocquy. Okay, I'm adding him to my list. What kind of art does he do?
He's renowned for his portraits.
Portrait.
But they're not your typical portraits. He captures the inner world of his subjects, much like a novelist delves into the depths of a character's psyche.
So it's like his portraits tell a story.
Exactly. And while you're exploring Irish artists, keep an eye out for Sean Scully as well.
Sean Scully.
Yeah.
Another one for the listener. What's his style like?
He's known for his abstract paintings with bold colors and geometric forms.
Abstract art. I like it.
His work is internationally acclaimed,
Yeah.
and while they might not directly reference literary works, they evoke a sense of depth and complexity that really resonates with Dublin's intellectual and emotional heritage.
I see what you mean. So even in abstract forms, we might find those echoes of Dublin's literary past.
Absolutely. And this brings us back to the Love Ireland newsletter's suggestion of visiting the Photo Museum Ireland.
Oh, yeah. You think we'd find those same echoes in photography?
I think so. Photography, like literature, has the power to capture those fleeting moments, and to tell stories and evoke emotions.
That's true.
Yep.
I wonder how photographers interpret Dublin's unique atmosphere.
Exactly, and how they capture those echoes of its literary past. It's something to think about.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
Oh,
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the depth and richness of Dublin's art scene.
it has been an insightful exploration. And as we move forward, I want to leave our listeners with a thought that goes beyond any specific museum or artist.
Oh, I like where this is going. What's the thought?
It's the idea that exploring art is a personal journey. It's about finding those pieces that resonate with you on an individual level.
Finding the art that speaks to your soul? I love that. And it reminds me of something you said earlier about art being a conversation.
Exactly. Don't just observe, engage with the art, question it. Let it challenge your perspectives.
That's a great point. Dublin seems like the perfect place to have that conversation with art.
It is. With its rich history and vibrant art scene, it offers so much to explore and discover.
Absolutely. So as our listeners plan their own art adventures in Dublin,
Yes.
what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Don't just see the art, feel it. Let it spark your imagination, challenge your assumptions, and leave you with a deeper understanding of this incredible city.
Wow. This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of Dublin's art scene.
Me too. It's amazing how much depth and richness there is to uncover.
It's not just about checking off museums on a list. It's
Yeah.
about the history, the literature, the city itself.
Exactly. It's like we've peeled back the layers and discovered this hidden world of connections and influences.
We started with the Love Ireland newsletter, which gave us a great starting point, but we went so much deeper.
Right. We explored the historical context, the influence of literary giants like Joyce and Beckett, and even the role of the city itself in shaping the art scene.
And now as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
That's a good question. I think what struck me most is how much this deep dive has mirrored the actual experience of engaging with art in Dublin.
In what way?
It's about making those connections, digging beneath the surface, discovering those unexpected layers of meaning,
I see what you mean. It's like a journey of exploration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as our listeners prepare to embark on their own art adventures in Dublin, I want to leave them with a thought.
What's that?
Remember that exploring art is a deeply personal journey. It's about finding those pieces, those artists, those experiences that resonate with you on an individual level.
Finding the art that speaks to your soul. I love that.
And it reminds me of something you said earlier about art being a conversation.
Oh, yeah. We shouldn't just passively observe.
Right, engage with it, question it, let it challenge your perspectives.
Dublin seems like the perfect setting for those kinds of conversations with art.
It is, with its rich history, vibrant art scene, and those hidden gems waiting to be discovered.
So to our listeners, as you plan your own art explorations in Dublin, remember,
Yes.
don't just see the art, feel it. Let it spark your imagination, challenge your assumptions, and leave you with a deeper understanding of this incredible city.
You said it perfectly. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a new favorite artist or a hidden gem that the Love Island newsletter missed.
That's the beauty of exploration, isn't it? There's always something new to discover. Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Dublin art scene. We hope you've enjoyed the journey, and we encourage you to keep exploring the world of art with fresh eyes and an open heart. Until next time, happy travels.